Well, joining me now, Don Calloway, Democratic strategist and founder of the National Voter Protection Action Fund, Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst, and David Jolly, former Florida Republican congressman and MSNBC political analyst. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. The only thing missing from my Thanksgiving table was having my Sunday family around it with me. But anyway, here we go. Don, does Kash Patel sound like someone who can win Senate confirmation?
Unfortunately, he does sound like he could win Senate confirmation. The question is, does he sound like someone who should be in charge of our country's FBI? The answer is, my God, no. An astoundingly bad no. You know, I was kind of prepared to come in with this canned response about how these, kind of outlier candidates are going to be nominated. But I forgot all about that when I listened to Kash Patel. And these were the words out of his mouth. That wasn't some alarmist thing. But it basically just, outside of the extremist politics of it, it evinces this fundamental lack of knowledge about how things actually work, to not understand what people in there are actually doing and how they're not only protecting global security, but individual American household security every day. This is what these people want to come in and eliminate. And it presents a real danger to people because every day people at the FBI and CIA protect Americans from things that we cannot see or even understand are out there. These people are deeply unserious because they don't seem to understand that.
So as this is all coming down, this drip, and the constant flooding of picks, right? Is Trump, Susan, flooding the zone with bad candidates to exhaust Republican senators who might want to resist some of his picks? Like, it's like they focus on one and they're like, oh, God, here comes another one. Oh, here's another one. There's no time to sort of parse out what one might mean before the next one arrives.
Well, that could have been the case if he started making these potential announcements in the end of December or early January. The fact that he's given so much time on the clock to let people investigate, to speak out, to let the candidates, frankly, put their foot in their mouth more and more times over the next 50 days. That's what is if you're trying to flood the zone, you try and do it quickly. You try and get away with it. And that was, I think, the biggest miscalculation politically for Donald Trump. Obviously, these picks are payback, and Donald Trump rewards loyalty. I remind the members of the Senate that he only repays loyalty to him. He will turn on you, though, if you go against him in any shape or way. And so even if you once support a Kash Patel, it doesn't mean Kash Patel is going to not flip on you if you don't do a vote that the president likes 6 months into his administration. You know, the other thing I'd just like to highlight about Kash Patel and that clip is if I were the Democrats, I would be highlighting over and over, that sounds like defund the FBI. Why does Kash Patel want a weaker FBI, less law enforcement out there? Because that's exactly what he's proposing.
Wow. David, let's take a listen to some of what Patel told Steve Bannon last December about those that he would target. Yeah. Here it is.
We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out.
Do you think any Republican senators, David, are going to be freaked out by this overt intimidation of the Fourth Estate?
I'm afraid they may not. I mean, there's already been a move in many states, including Florida, but you hear national politicians about weakening the protections for journalists, trying to test before the Supreme Court the landmark decision from, I believe, 72, and change the protections that are given to revealing sources, to protection of anonymous sources. Frankly, the burden for anonymous sources in the state of Florida was proposed to be made presumably false if there's an anonymous tip. So I think Republicans in Congress might actually go along with what Kash Patel might try to do with the media. I think what's coming together, Alex, is Donald Trump sees an opportunity to rewrite his first administration. If you look at the departments and then the Fourth Estate and the media that were most critical of Donald Trump, that had investigative authority, he is trying to now investigate the investigators. So whether it's Pam Bondi at Justice, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard at DNI and Russia, whether it's Kash Patel at FBI, or whether it's changing the standard to go after the media, it's not just his revenge tour, it's also he feels like his first term has been presented unfairly. Take HHS and CDC with the handling of COVID. He is putting people there that will rewrite the history of the first term. It creates a very dangerous moment, but Donald Trump ultimately is following through on his promise. This is his retribution tour. And this is where it gets very dangerous. This is not something to overlook or to give equity to Donald Trump or say, I wonder if he's right about any of this. He's not. He's wrong. This is a moment of danger.
David, I want to also ask you about Trump having announced his son-in-law, Jared Kushner's father, as his choice for ambassador to France. Yeah. Here is what Chris Christie said about Charles Kushner. This is back in 2019. Let's watch that.
It was so obvious he had to be prosecuted that, I mean, if a guy hires a prostitute to seduce his brother-in-law and videotapes it and then sends the videotape to his sister to attempt to intimidate her from testifying before a grand jury, do I really need any more justification than that? I mean, it's one of the most loathsome, disgusting crimes that I prosecuted when I was U.S. attorney.
Of course, this position also requires Senate confirmation. What do you think is happening here?
I think Donald Trump is paying the Kushners back. And I would remind viewers that this will be the ambassador of the United States, not the ambassador of Donald Trump. This will be the representation of our country to France. But look, it harkens back to me the $2 billion payout that Jared Kushner got for his private equity fund or a specialty finance fund from Saudi after Donald Trump did everything favorable he could for the Saudis, as did Jared himself. And it's notable that Jared and Ivanka do not have a formal role. They are staying out of the second administration. But payback can look very different than just a job in the White House or a job to lead the FBI or DNI. In this case, the payback to the Kushners is pretty clear.
And Don, hey, it is not just a cushy role for Ivanka's father-in-law and the Kushners. Trump has also named Tiffany Trump's father-in-law for an advisory role. Why does Trump want to keep these in the family?
Because you keep money in the family. These are opportunities, obviously Jared and Ivanka staying out, but when you have to have the right people actually controlling the levers of the enterprise, which is going to allow for regulations to be, opened up, contracting opportunities to be opened up, you have to have an inside man on the actual inside. And that's what this Trump administration will look like, even far more so than the first 4 years in which they increased their net value by billions. In ways that Americans see and don't see every day, in ways as simple as all the money's paid to Trump properties for Secret Service, all the money's lost from, we're going to do that this time around on a global scale times 1,000. And there's frankly no limit to the universe of private enterprise that does business with not only the United States government, but the United States government around the world. And the Trump administration 2.0 has tapped into that.
Susan, let me get one last question to you about Pete Hegseth, who's certainly back in the news with the New York Times reporting on a 2018 email that his mother sent him accusing him of mistreating women. She told the Times she immediately regretted that email and apologized to him, and NBC News has not seen those emails. But do you see senators such as Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski voting to confirm Hegseth?
I do not. And I think it also goes deeper than just his alleged sexual predatory behavior. It goes to the fact that he doesn't want women serving in the military. That automatically puts Joni Ernst out of her previous career. She served in the military. I think that's going to be something that will motivate a lot of folks. They need, again, this is what I was talking about, letting the clock run. Now, if your mom doesn't believe that you're a decent human being, why should the United States Senate? And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, well, then I will leave it there as well. It's good to see all three of you. Thank you, guys.